The views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Union Broadcasting Inc., ESPN 1510, or its employees. The host is solely responsible for the on-air content.
Welcome back to KC Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice, telling the stories of Kansas City nonprofits. I'm Bobby Keys.
And I'm Ruth Bombigas.
And we're back telling more nonprofit stories.
And this every time of the year is busy, but it seems like as we get into the fall and the winter months, it just blows up on the calendar.
Oh yeah, we got Giving Tuesday coming soon here, so people are. I'm working with nonprofits that are already getting their campaigns ready,
doing their special stuff.
Getting everything, getting all the ducks in a row.
Plus, Giving Tuesday, I think, is really late this year because of when Thanksgiving falls. Yeah. And we have an expert in the studio. We should have a drum roll. Yes. We'll create our own drum roll.
We'll just put it in. Fix it in post.
Hand drum roll for Katie Lord. Yay, our millennial maven.
Hello, I'm so happy to be back. Thank you for having me.
We got to get you like a suit, like some type of superhero.
Oh, a jacket.
The millennial maven.
Oh, I would like that.
Right?
I would wear that with pride.
There you go.
I own my millennialness. I'll take it.
So you'll have to stay tuned to our Facebook and all our social media platforms to see that.
Yes.
But Katie has dived very deep into the nonprofit world, beyond being a volunteer, and I can't think of how many organizations you're involved with that way, but she's vice president of nonprofit development over at Proof Positioning. Mm-hmm. So she's an expert by volunteerism and by career.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
And she has come to spread the knowledge for other nonprofits. We're gonna dive into what millennial giving.
We're going to talk a little bit today more about millennials and maybe how you can maybe target them better with your Giving Tuesday campaign, and a little bit about how to research with your millennials too, because millennials are hard to find on traditional research platforms for our sector. So how do we maybe peel back the layers of the onion to find out what their true capacity is?
I can't wait. Now I can't wait till people are like, "What's TikTok?" Right now.
I actually had that conversation yesterday. Somebody was telling me about TikTok, and I was like, I think I've reached, unfortunately, that age where I'm not cool anymore because I didn't even try to understand. At one point, I was like, okay, I'm good.
It's one of those other things, one of those other branches of social media, which is where a lot of millennials live, right?
They do. We live, work, and play on our phones. Many of us were digital natives, or like myself, who is a quote unquote old millennial. I remember getting the internet and just the excitement that opened up, and then now we all have it on our phones. And my daughter is a digital native. I mean, I think she knows how to work my phone better than I do, and she's 2. So I think being able to talk to our millennials and to target them is going to be really, really important, especially as Giving Tuesday is our kind of global, day of philanthropy, as well as it's so focused on digital and on our social media networks. That's how it started, and I only continue to see that to grow.
Well, in preparation for the show, I kind of went out and threw in millennials out into the internet space, and of course you can get
terrifying what comes back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, watch out now.
Actually, there was interesting. I did find a little research on a website called The Millennial Impact.
Yes,
and it was talking about a 10-year look back and gives you some McNuggets that we can dive into with your expertise. For example, according to themillennialimpact.com, millennials are more into social issues rather than institutions.
Yes.
So let's talk about that in terms of deeper dive into research and what that means.
So what that has to do, or what I would say that has to do with, or how you really do that, is millennials are skeptical of large institutions. Most of us came out of we came out into our careers, if you will, during the recession. We saw what the recession did to our parents, and so we kind of saw maybe how the government, the banks, things failed. Institutions failed. And so what that has done, in my opinion, and also research has backed, is that millennials now focus on social justice is a huge area for millennials to be focused on, but we want to solve a specific problem. We're not necessarily going to go to certain institutions to do that. We don't have loyalty there. So one year I might give to one cancer research organization, and the next year I might do it to somebody else because I care about cancer research, but I might just have interest in different projects, not necessarily what that one institution institution's goals and objectives are.
That's got to drive fundraisers at those institutions absolutely bonky.
Well, it increases churn. I mean, it really messes with organizational retention rates. So how do you keep your, our national retention rate, I think, is something at like 40%. It's in the 40s.
When you say retention rate of
that means
donors?
Of donors.
Okay.
So 40% of donors in the 40s are giving to your organization year over year. So you're having a 60% plus churn rate.
Well, now, why is that? Is that more because of lack of impact communication, or is it just because of financial reasons, or is it just because of what would you say, nonprofit mental drift? Hey, I'm going to go support somebody else.
I would say stewardship is just a really hard thing for organizations to really get right, because it's the long game. I think sometimes with organizations, and what I've just seen in my career, is we're always chasing the next dollar. But sometimes the next dollar is the person who has been with us, and it's truly growing that relationship. But if I don't feel that, love or connection or hear that story of impact enough times, then I'm going to go find somebody else who will do it. With millennials, it's a lot more social too. I'm going to give to my friends who are involved in things, and the expectation is there is that social return, that when I'm passionate about something, I'm going to go talk to my friends and my network. And so there's kind of that reciprocality that we're seeing a lot in the nonprofit space, or within, just millennials. And what I see the nonprofit space needs to do is, so somebody brought me into an organization, but how are you communicating with me so that I stay involved in the organization? It's not just that person who introduced me, but the organization needs to take some ownership of my adventure with their organization and how they're going to keep me.
So in trying to capture that millennial donor, causes problems, it sounds like sometimes it's a one touch with a specific organization with a cause. You used cancer, for example. A millennial might say, yes, I want to fight cancer. They're not necessarily going to say, and my place to go is University of Kansas Cancer Center, or Susan G. Komen, or Delise Hofen's Braden's Hope.
Right.
So they're going to hop around?
They're going to hop around. There's just no loyalty to the institution unless the institution really works hard to create that relationship. Again, kind of what we were talking about. I get on my phone and I can swipe and see different things all the time. So it's maybe how people are talking to me, where are they going, and how often are they reaching out and making those touch points. If I give a gift and I don't hear from you for 3 months, you've lost my attention. I've got a real short attention span. So somebody else is going to fall into that space.
Frequency. So
it is frequency. It is frequency and messaging and targeting.
Yeah, and you know what? Working with nonprofits, we always hear the problems, and it seems like that's a huge one for a lot of people. They just don't understand that digital aspect and how engaged you have to be and continually be, especially with the millennials, because there are so many messages. And my daughter, like you're getting bombarded with messages, and so you're hopping around, and I'm in it too. I grew up, I'm Generation X and you're whatever it is. But
Facebook came out, you knew how to use it. Exactly. You were on the cutting edge.
Yeah, I was using MySpace. I was built, so when social media was around, but I loved it. I embraced technology. That was always me. So I get to see it. So it seems like, but with that comes this nonstop, you're getting bombarded with messages. So corporations or organizations, nonprofit organizations, need to, stay frequency, constantly put out messages that of impact and Am I wrong in that?
Oh,
it
no,
just
100%.
seems like that's what they're supposed to be doing, but
100%. It truly is, and storytelling is such a buzzword right now. I think sometimes people roll their eyes and it's like, oh my God, storytelling. But also at the same time, there is a truth to that because that is how you show your impact. Yep. And I can relate more to an individual person than like the huge, large problem that I'm trying to move the needle on. And that's really where I think coming in with social messaging and digital is going to be so important, especially for millennials. So how do you research millennials, though? So it's like if you go to any of the researching organizations, which I'm a huge proponent of, I think you need to do your homework. Yeah. You can put in millennial names, and they might own a business. They might be doing really well, but you still can't find anything on them. Their behavior is just so sporadic, and it really depends on the reporting. So, I mean, I love to do it to myself, and mine is just completely out. No matter which platform I look at, it's really not accurate. So it paints a picture that I'm not maybe giving or I'm not active in the ways that I truly am. them because certain ways are not being measured. So you can't really report on a millennial's impact or giving because we do it in non-traditional ways. So how you really need to look at researching for millennials is looking at their digital behavior. That's how you can have the biggest impact on targeting messaging for millennials is you need to go on their LinkedIn profile. You need to do some social media stalking. I mean, we all do it for, ex-boyfriends or whatever, but we really need to do it for our donors. Because seeing who they're connected with, what pages do they like? What are they liking, sharing, reposting? That just doing a 10-minute search on somebody and seeing what their digital assets are, because it's all out there.
Yep.
It's all out there. That can really tell you a lot about a millennial's behavior and what they might be most interested in giving. So that's where, I think everyone is now using, cookies and all of that on the internet, but you really need to be able to segment that and take a hard look at that because that is where your millennial audience is living, is on your website, on your social media. And so really doing a research, looking at your analytic tools, when is the best time to post, when is all of that, that's going to really help you target your millennials in a better way.
And there's so many tools for people if they just embrace it, but there's so much data, the psychometrics that are available for people to be able, you can tap into your audience. You can get so much data that's available, I feel, if you just do your due diligence as a nonprofit and understand who you're talking to.
Well, right, because you're not going to talk to everybody.
Exactly.
I know we all love to think that our mission really is for everyone.
Yeah.
But there's just personal differences. I mean, there's generational differences. There's gender differences. There are so many differences. And again, there is so much data now that nonprofits can tap into. And I mean, to be quite honest with you, and I understand it, it can be a timing issue. It's like, I'm already wearing 32 hats and now you want me to be a data analyst?
Yeah. Right.
But there are these tools that can really help you that you have, if you could just look on your Facebook analytics and your Instagram analytics for your business page, if you spent, 2 hours max a week just looking at those, maybe even monthly, and seeing what engagement's driving up, what posts are doing well, how is that working? That's the research that you need to be doing. It's not so much maybe looking at individuals on millennials, on an individual basis. It's looking at them as a cohort right now because we're still trying to bring them into the philanthropy space. We're here, but we act and behave differently. So we got to use different tools to figure out how to reach and resonate.
So with that in mind, and knowing that Giving Tuesday is December 3rd, so after Thanksgiving and really late, 22 days before Christmas.
Yes, it's 42 days away actually from today. I looked at it. 42 days from today is Giving Tuesday.
How can our nonprofits, what should they do? And, as you mentioned, people go, you mean I got to go look at data and I got to find hours in my day? I think for some of the bigger guys in town, bigger organizations, that's not as jarring as it is for the smaller nonprofits that are doing everything. So, Millennial Maven, words of advice. How can you go about that, and what's the most impactful way with Giving Tuesday coming up?
I would say if you can, just take a brief social media audit. Just look back and just even see how many likes or eyes have been on your post or what's just resonated the most. Try to recreate that in the same way. You can repurpose content. It's okay. People aren't going to always remember that you posted something 3 months ago. It's okay to take those higher engagement pieces and to repurpose them with more of a Giving Tuesday message. Also, reach out. Everyone is asking for money on Giving Tuesday. What else can you ask for? Can you ask for time? Can you ask for signing a petition, writing your congressman? Is there a small act or micro movement that you can make that can really make an impact on a millennial who we know is going to give time first? But is there a way to have that be that gateway during that time that will set you apart from other organizations? We all know Giving Tuesday is about money. We know that it's raised a significant amount. But what's going to set you apart is how you use it for further and deeper engagement with who's already your audience, but also what small movements can you do to just engage people and then from there really steward them into your organization.
Tips on stewardship, since this generation of millennials, which we always talk about, how do we define them? And again, that age is roughly 24-ish, or is it even younger now?
Well, what I have heard, what I go with is I say it can be, to 98, 1998 to as early as, 1980 is what I normally go with. You ask, you type in millennial and there's like 5 different places that have 5 different definitions. But stewardship truly is about sharing stories of impact and not asking for anything in return. It's not asking me to do anything. It is simply saying, thank you. Here is your impact. And here's maybe a way that you could volunteer or share this post, but you're not asking me for money at this point. It's truly about giving me an opportunity to, share my testimony and my testament of the organization, and to share what my impact made. Yes, I probably only gave $25 and we know that it had one impact, but constantly remind me what $25 did and how I made an impact. We are truly the impact generation, and look at our philanthropy as how did I move the needle in a social way that I am proud of and can see, touch, and feel.
I've heard of some nonprofits who've said, Giving Tuesday is so busy, there's so much noise, we're going to get lost, whatever. And have even talked about, doing a drop on Black Friday. Rather than shop, make an impact.
I like it.
Collect canned goods or sign up to volunteer or whatever.
It has become commercialized.
I mean, everything is going to become commercialized.
Yeah.
That's the American way.
Exactly.
But I think that there is something to going outside. I mean, Giving Tuesday is a box, so you can either stay in that box or not. I think it's important to do something, though, around that time. Do I think it has to be in the confines of Giving Tuesday? No, I don't. But we know that year-end giving is when most of our organizations bring in the majority of their funds. And so you have to do something. You need to be at the party in some way, shape, or form. It just might not be that you show up to that particular event.
Yep. Katie, you are the best. Millennial Maven. You can find her tips. We'll put them out on our social media. And you can follow Katie on Instagram.
Follow me on Instagram. I'm at Katie_Lord360. Or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I'm on it multiple times a day. That's my platform. So I'm happy to connect and help in any way that I can.
And we'd be happy to connect you to folks as well.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Well, wonderful. It's always a pleasure to be here. You guys are the best and such a inspiration and pivotal, you serve such a pivotal role here in Kansas City. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Inspired by Ewan Marion Kaufman, the Kaufman Foundation believes that every person, regardless of their background, can take risks, achieve success, and give back to their communities. We work together with our Kansas City community and beyond through investments in education and entrepreneurship that create uncommon solutions. By listening first to the communities we serve, we seek to understand the problems and dream big with people to build innovative programs that deliver results. Learn more at Kaufman.org.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. You're neutral to it. You hear it every time you finish a meal and never feel anything. But if we were able to associate this sound with a new stimulus, save the food, we've achieved pulling a natural response from you. Save the food. Why are we doing this, you may ask? Save the food. Because this ad is trying to change your after-meal behavior through brainwashing. Because food waste costs the average family $1,500 a year. Save the food. Cha-ching. And $1,500 extra bucks is like getting a pay raise. Save the food. Cha-ching. You're promoted. Which could pay for your child's braces. Save the food. Cha-ching. You're promoted.
Check out my braces.
So when you hear this sound, rethink your behavior. Cook it, store it, share it. Just don't waste it. For tips and recipes, visit SaveTheFood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
Wow, this place is so adorable. I can't believe we haven't stopped in sooner.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Betsy, look at these sweaters. 2 for $75, and they look amazing on our girls.
Maybe they would. I'm not sure if it's the right size.
Oh, come on. They're perfect. What's wrong?
Suzanne, I have no business being in this store. I should not be shopping. Things are really tight right now.
Tight? Are you and Michael having trouble?
We're behind on our mortgage, and Michael is really worried.
Listen, Bill and I had the same problem a few months ago, and we got some really great counseling, and it was free. I'm going to email you the information as soon as we get home.
Suzanne, you're the best.
If you even think you may be in danger of foreclosure, call the National Foundation for Credit Counseling. Certified housing counselors can help you work through your problems, and the service is free. Call the NFCC at 866-687-6322 or visit mortgagehelpnow.org. That's mortgagehelpnow.org. This has been a public service from the NFCC.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
and I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
The Air Guard serves in every community across the United States. They give a lot of themselves to defend our country. But serving does a lot for them too. It's an extra paycheck, money for college, and they get the skills to build a civilian career. I'm Laura Bryna. See what you can do for your country, your community, and yourself. Be a hometown hero. Call 1-800-TO-GO-ANG or visit goang.com.
Hometown heroes all across the USA.
Welcome back to KC Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice and your digital resource. We're helping organizations to survive and thrive. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis.
And I'm Bobby Keys. And don't forget, we are generously sponsored by the Ewing Kauffman Foundation. And thank you to them.
Ewing Kauffman Foundation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. They're making it possible for us to share all these great stories of the more than 9,000 nonprofits in Kansas City. 11,000 if you include various religious institutions. And that's our next group of guests are from Village Presbyterian Church. I'm getting tongue-tied today. We have Deborah White, who is Director of Mission and Emergency Assistance. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Ruth.
And Will?
Breytspraak, hello.
Thank you. I was not going to butcher your name. Breytspraak, who's Director of Music Ministry at Village. Thanks. Presbyterian Church. We have a lot of them in Kansas City, obviously. Can you give us a little snapshot of Village and who's there? What's your mission?
Sure.
Within the religious sphere?
Yeah. Well, the church is, the Village Presbyterian Church is the largest Presbyterian church within the 5-county area. We have approaching 5,000 members. We were founded by Dr. Bob Meneely. A lot of people call him Dr. Bob. In 1949. And the church has been very active in the community through that whole time, heavily involved in social justice issues as well as community activities, community outreach. So from my vantage point as Director of Mission, it's in the DNA of Village Church. And so we're very active in a number of ministries within the community, and it's an integral part of our church life. So, for example, we're the longest running, we've been sponsoring Habitat for Humanity for 40 years, and we've been the longest serving sponsor for Habitat for Humanity, which is one of the beneficiaries of our upcoming upcoming concert.
So tell me what that kind of sponsorship looks like. What does that mean when you're the sponsor?
Well, when you're a beneficiary of our concert, it gives you an opportunity, it gives the organization an opportunity to get up and speak in front of the group, in front of the audience, and share a story. A lot of times it's a personal story about maybe a client. But it's an opportunity to educate the community about the kind of services that you offer.
And being a sponsor, do you also provide man-woman power to help them in their mission?
Yeah. Many times the organizations that are beneficiaries, we have a relationship with those organizations and volunteers that are involved. For example, with Habitat, along with some financial support that we provide to them with a grant, we have a Tuesday, Thursday crew, and they go out on Tuesdays and Thursdays and work on a Habitat house every week. And we've been doing that for quite a long time.
What other things fall into mission? And then I want to talk with Will about this amazing concert you have coming up and how you tie music into mission social justice work.
Under emergency assistance is another area that we offer, and I do quite a bit of that throughout the week. We have a very active grant process in which organizations apply for grant funding from Village Church every year. We also have a number of ministries that we're involved with, Habitat being one of those that we work with on a regular basis. We do a reading program with Operation Breakthrough. We have a food pantry that's really quite vibrant. We have about every month about 300 volunteers at the food pantry. Half of those are not even Village Church members. They come from other churches, from community organizations, businesses every month. So
you don't have to be a member?
No, not at all.
And you guys serve over 15,000 per
through the pantry?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. In terms of, we have about 20 clients a day who come through the pantry, and we operate Monday through Saturday. So it's not one day a week. It's a full-time operation with a freestanding facility off of Mission Road.
Well, not to get too mired into how people qualify, where would be the best place for listeners if they're interested in volunteering or if there's someone in need and could use the help of the food pantry?
They can give me a call. Just call the mission office, Deborah White. The phone number for the church is 913-262-4200. So call in there and they'll direct the call towards me, and I'm happy to chat.
All right, Will, so you're the music guy.
Yeah.
So I would think that you're standing in front of the choir loft or, inspiring people to raise their voice and praise. How does that tie to the mission activities over here that Deb is working so hard on?
Well, this was actually started about 15 years ago by Mark Ball, who passed away last year. He was the longtime director of music, and he really, I think, envisioned concerts being much more than a concert, a way to build community, support community, and it's still going strong. So I want to make sure I mention Mark today. We're actually celebrating him this year with our whole season, and I think these beneficiary concerts are a special part of it. But yeah, for me, it's really unlike any of the other musical things I've gotten to do, to team up with Deb and Mission and hear about so many nonprofits in the community, and then work really with her and the rest of our music ministry team to see, hey, what might we be able to especially support? Maybe not just with time to share about the cause, but maybe we can actually integrate this whole theme into the concert. Last year, we did a benefit for Frontera de Cristo, which is a border ministry at the U.S.-Mexico border. And I think we were able to, in a healthy way, not getting political, ask some questions about our neighbors and celebrate cultures to the south of the United States. And using the poetry of Arlen Byert and our singing of our choirs and even some movement and drama, really actually build around Frontera de Cristo in a concert and then raise awareness for the cause. So that's what we're trying to do, again, with Habitat for Humanity. The theme of the program is about letting our love be heard and felt and finding refuge for people in our immediate community and worldwide. So all of the music is intended to share love, and we believe that these songs have a power for those singing them to be transformed, for those who hear them to be transformed, and then we hope to go even further. They leave the church sanctuary, whatever their faith, whatever their background, and they go out into the community aware of the positive efforts that their neighbors are doing and ready to pitch in.
Wow. And the concert is November 3rd.
It is at 3 p.m.
At
it's
your
a free
main
concert.
At your main place, right?
That's right.
On
in
Mission
our main
Road.
sanctuary.
We don't want anybody to drive to the wrong place.
Yes.
How do you choose music for something like this so that it sounds like you try to do it toward the mission and make it kind of available to everybody?
Sure. Well, it's funny. The poster for this concert looks like a mixtape. I remember from my child, a great way to show your love for someone was to make a mixtape. Because you sat there with that thing. You didn't make a playlist on
what's
iTunes.
on your mixtape?
Yeah, what's in your mixtape? And so there's a mixtape, and the tape is reeling out of the cassette to shape a heart. And I think that's actually, to be completely honest about the programming of this concert, it's in some ways a mixtape of some music that I felt and my colleagues felt would share this love. But I was able to find a couple things in exploring the habitat thing, looking at refuge. One of the pieces we're doing is To the Hands by Caroline Shaw, young composer from Massachusetts, Pulitzer Prize winning composer. She wrote a piece all about refuge that's quite an eclectic mix. There's even a movement in which the singers say global displacement figures, while Destiny Ann Mermegan and our string quintet are playing sort of furiously. It sounds like Dada in the orchestra. They're sort of, just bowing away fiercely. And the choir is saying 1,243, 18,002. And the point that Caroline Shaw shares in her notes is that sometimes Dada can be the cruelest or most awakening way of moving someone. So she's actually put Dada in her music. So that's an example of something I wasn't able to just go, oh, that'll be perfect for this concert. I found it. And it's been a stretch for us too, because it's really a very challenging piece for us, but we're hopeful.
Now this is this is a benefit, right? How do you choose the nonprofits that?
Well, so Deb comes to our music team, Matthew Shepard, Elisa Bickers, Carol Dale, and Destiny Mermegan and me. And we all talk about, with Deb, what are these different nonprofits, what they're about, sort of what season are they in as an organization, and maybe what is our relationship as Village Church. And
do you have a better chance of getting it like being a newer nonprofit or older?
I think Deb would need.
It doesn't really matter.
No.
We get a lot of ideas through our local community grant process, and we learn a lot about the organizations in our community. And so I keep a kind of running list of some ideas that I then pitch to Will, and we chat about what the concert's going to be, what he's thinking about in terms of the music, and what's going on in terms of our relationship with that particular organization.
Oh, okay. So, and is it just something that, I guess, a nonprofit, how do they get their name in the hat? How do you, where does all that come from?
How do we call you up and say,
like,
consider us?
Hey, Will. Hey, bud. We love your music. Thanks.
Well, we're always open to ideas, and certainly welcome phone calls from individuals or organizations to give us their thoughts and ideas and suggestions. But like I said, a lot of it comes out of that, lifts up or rises out of that process. We'll learn about a new organization. For example, our concert in December is going to be for Grace United Community Ministries, and they came to us with a grant proposal for their new early childhood education.
Oh, okay.
Which they are just starting this fall. Well, we're going to, the beneficiary for that concert is going to be that group. And we have a retiring offering. They'll have an opportunity to speak, and then we'll give them a little money as a result of, it's a free concert, but we ask individuals if they might donate a little something to the beneficiary at the end of the concert.
That's an awesome feeling. I mean, I music is my backbone as well. So just being around music and then also giving and just all that love that's going on over there. I want to be a part of it.
And that concert that Deb's talking about, 3 and 6 p.m. on December 15th, it's our holiday concert, our Christmas concert, Tidings of Joy. And it's a good fit with the children's efforts of Grace United. Habitat for this particular concert was a good fit timing-wise, as it's the 40th anniversary, of course. So timing is what we try to do really for the organization, not just for us programmatically, but how can we highlight people and connect with an audience that can be made more aware.
How long have your singers and your instrumentalists been working on this?
Oh gosh, well, we've been working on a lot of this music since August.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah. Caroline Shaw's piece is the one that was the biggest chunk to bite off.
Sondheim of choral music.
She's as creative as Sondheim.
That's what I mean, but as hard as Sondheim music.
Yes. Yeah.
For those people who are into music. Sorry.
And that's for our chamber choir. For our village choir, which is the choir that sings every week in Sunday worship, they're singing a couple pieces that they've done this fall. One of them is called For Everyone Born, which it's for everyone born a place at the table. It's really a universal message beyond communion or church about for everyone born clean water and bread, and a place of refuge again. So
again, that is November 3rd, 3 p.m.
3 p.m.
at Mission Church. At Village Church on Mission. I was thinking, don't forget to say the street where the...
Well, we have Village on Antioch now,
right,
so we like to make sure people know.
Didn't want to send them to the wrong place. Deb, I want to ask you before our time together is over, some of the other mission work that you do, you're doing here and you're doing elsewhere.
Yeah, we have mission work happening within our community here, but also internationally. We have ministries in Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Kenya, and as Will mentioned, on the border. So we do mission trips throughout the year, and it varies in terms of, it might be educational, it might be medical, but it's quite varied. We have regularly 20 grants we do every year, and plus regular ministry work with volunteers throughout the year.
And again, you don't have to be a member to partake?
Not at all. No, not at all.
What a neat opportunity. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing about this exciting concert. And I think we both love the idea of melding music with mission ministry, whatever your faith background is. You know, getting out there to just help other people. How do you feel when you finish a concert like that?
We feel great. I mean, I think... I've seen a change right after the beneficiary speech at the concert in the way that the choir sings, just the light in their eyes. And as musicians, we get stressed about some of these details, and you realize that what really matters is sharing, and people become ready to share because they're compelled to jump in. And I think people feel like that after the concert when those songs stick with them, and really throughout their week or their month or their life becomes a soundtrack for them.
How special. So don't miss the concert because you can make your own mixtape, right?
That's right.
Or CD or EP or LMNOP, whatever the technology. And you can find out more details at villagepres.org.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us and sharing your story.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
Inspired by Ewan Marion Kaufman, the Kaufman Foundation believes that every person, regardless of their background, can take risks, achieve success, and give back to their communities. We work together with our Kansas City community and beyond through investments in education and entrepreneurship that create uncommon solutions. By listening first to the communities we serve, we seek to understand the problems and dream big with people to build innovative programs that deliver results. Learn more at Kaufman.org.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cool time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Hey America, we are your pets, and this song's dedicated to those people who don't have health insurance yet.
Enroll, we say, we want you to be okay. Enroll, we say, take care of people for goodness sake. There's a plan for every budget, so don't accept defeat. Now you can get covered and still buy me treats.
Enroll! So listen to me, a talking pug, you see. If you get health insurance, preventive care is now free.
So sweet.
You take care of your pets. Now it's their turn to take care of you. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn about your health insurance options. That's getcoveredamerica.org. Brought to you by Get Covered America and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Jamie McMurray here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. Want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible. Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice, telling the stories of Kansas City nonprofits. I'm Bobby Keys.
And I'm Ruth Bombigas.
And we're back.
We're back.
We are back.
And we have experts extraordinaire today.
Yeah, that solves so many. They can help us with all these problems that nonprofits
That's
have.
right.
Starting up and
give great
fundraising.
advice.
Yes.
Give great advice. So we started off with our millennial maven and talking about millennials and how to reach them and how they choose things differently. And we're going to wrap this show with the expert, I think, in Kansas City on boards and board development and all those things. And it's David Oliver. Welcome.
Welcome, David.
One of 5 Davids in his family.
That's right.
So I should say you're David Field Oliver, so everybody will know in the family which one it is.
How do you, the family reunions, how does that work?
Well, we had one. We were the 5 Davids. We did a little skit.
How fun. How fun.
That's
so
awesome.
do you have to be careful then when you're choosing board members then?
Yes.
That you don't
Yeah.
replicate names on your board? No,
Yes.
no. That's not advice, everybody. That's just fun. David is an attorney with Berkowitz Oliver.
Correct.
Your firm.
Yes.
With an expertise, though, in board development and all that. The things that I find when I talk to nonprofits, you'll get an executive director or the VP that's over that stuff going, oh my gosh, who are we going to ask? Will someone stay? What do we do?
What do we get them to do for us?
Yep.
You know, it seems like
Right.
there's all.
So let's dive into this board.
Okay. First, I would like to thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And also, I'm trying to shift the way we talk about not-for-profits and call them for-purpose corporations or
I like that.
for-purpose companies because they are for-purpose. They are not necessarily designed to make money, but they also should not lose money. So board service for me is an issue of who are the best board members for your for-purpose company. Governance is governance, whether you're a for-profit company or a not-for-profit company. The rules are basically the same. So what I'm trying to do, and I'm actually dual careering. So I practice law, then I have my own separate consulting practice now that really is non-legal, but it's designed to help build boards help boards diversify, help for-purpose companies understand the skill sets needed in board members, and try to help executive directors not roll their eyes every time you talk about board development. I think boards need to care and feed for themselves. Clearly, you got to work with the executive director who's on the board, but it's not up to the executive director to pick who is on the board. That's really the board needs to do that themselves. So it's an ongoing, comprehensive program that I help for-purpose companies handle.
Wow. So I guess what is the biggest problems that nonprofits face when it does come to boards?
At the moment, and I am one. Too many older white guys on the board.
So not diversified,
right? Not diversified.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
And by diversified, I don't mean just people who look different, but I mean people who think different, people who come from different parts of our community. Different socioeconomic diversity. What you're looking for is a range of talents to really help not-for-profits in what their mission is.
Yeah, that's amazing, because it does seem like, when you do get stuck with a certain, I wouldn't say demographic, but almost a viewpoint that becomes myopic.
Right.
And that's based off of obviously your culture, where you come from, and how the things that happen to you in life.
Yeah.
But having that diversity,
right,
can open up so many different, I guess, avenues for you, right?
That's right.
I mean,
well, and nothing wrong. I want to be clear. Nothing wrong with old white guys. I am one. But
I wouldn't say old, but you are a white guy.
I'll get my Medicare card out, but thank you.
And I'm both, so I can, I can.
No, that's right. But
you're not old either.
I'm not old, but I'm white and black. So.
Yeah, but you're really touching on the fact that we do need different perspectives.
Yeah.
Organizations benefit from thinking about things in a variety of ways, and everybody brings their own life experience. So you're really hitting on some of the keys.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of people, you get complacent. A lot of people get complacent, with their ideology, but even with everything, the process, and it's just that change.
That's right.
Change everything, But having that, opening up, allowing that change, allowing that diversity, it's almost like I don't know, as cheesy as it may sound, it's just like it just blooms like flower. It's just like,
that's right.
It just blooms creativity and success and a good employee morale, and it just seems like, that's where we're going.
Yep. And this is more a civic concern I've got. We need to be developing next generation business leaders to serve on boards. They are incredibly busy. I'm actually glad that my parents were not involved to the extent that some parents are involved in their children's lives today, especially in high school. But I have younger friends who, both parents work outside the house, have demanding careers. Their weekends are consumed, if they have kids, with a lot of scheduling on sports events. So their ability to serve on boards is a challenge. Boards need to behave differently. Some of us are habituated to, let's meet at 7:30 in the morning. Well, that's not an ideal time for parents who got to get kids to school in the morning.
Exactly.
And a lot of millennials actually are looking for not so much board service, but how do I help a good not-for-profit / for-purpose business in Kansas City thrive? And so they're looking for, hey, give me a job, give me a beginning date and end date, I'll try to make a difference. They're not enamored of board service the way baby boomers have been. So we have to think about that as well.
So how does an organization, a for-purpose organization, attack that?
Yeah.
We have all this technology. Is that becoming part of how to have board meetings?
Well, technology helps, especially those not-for-profits that say it's a statewide not-for-profit. Trying to get everybody to meet at a specific time face-to-face is hard. So using things like Facebook, Zoom, FaceTime I meant, Zoom, other technologies really help. I think also shifting the notion that the board meeting itself may not be the most important time when board members are contributing. Committee work's very important. Task force work is very important. I was doing some consulting work with a not-for-profit that had done a very good job diversifying their board very broadly, but then they were having trouble with attendance. And it wasn't for lack of interest. It was just, hey, my schedule is such, it doesn't jibe up with your schedule.
Yeah.
So they shifted to let's work in smaller groups and have most of the work of the board happen in committees. And so you shift away from trying to have the main activity be a 2-hour board meeting. So you have smaller committee meetings that really get the work done. You got to report it out at the board meeting, but it shortens up the board meeting.
I wanted to go back to your point about diversity, and that being a broader term than we might think. So how does a board go about diversifying itself, finding those board members?
Well, what I encourage them to do is come up with a matrix, no names of people, but a matrix of skill sets that the organization needs. If you need a lawyer, if you need a real estate person, if you need somebody in media, if you need somebody in fundraising, so that you create a job description for who the board member should be. Then cultivating board members takes a lot longer than I think most organizations realize. It's not a good sign if a board or if an organization wakes up in October and goes, oh, we're losing 4 board members in December, let's scramble and find somebody. Because then you tend to reach out to people you know. Nothing wrong with people you know, but I'm really encouraging organizations to spend a lot of time cultivating people they may not know to see if they might have a passion for the organization. So we have over 17 leadership development programs sponsored by chambers and other business organizations in the region. I'm urging them, reach out to those groups. You had Katie Lord on earlier. She has become a wonderful resource for me because she's involved with Centurion. She's involved in all sorts of groups of her age. And I am spending more time, in all honesty, trying to get to know that generation of emerging business leader than people my age. Because we do need them long term to be involved.
So we got to go to Katie.
Yeah.
We'll give Katie's name and number out for everybody to go look.
Yeah, the Millennial Maven.
So we know that diversity is a big challenge. Advice in terms of board versus staff and potential strain.
Well, this often happens. I will say that boards should not micromanage. Boards are not employees of the organization. Boards have a specific role. I hear a lot of people talk about, well, I'm on a policy board or I'm on a working board. And I challenge them to say, if you're on a working board, what does that mean? I know I have a job as a board member, but my job is not to be a quasi-employee of the company. I'm also not there to direct staff. I mean, that's the executive director's job. Now, a good executive director will allow board members to interact with staff, especially a development person, because one of board members' jobs is to go out and help raise money. And so that's a team effort. You need the executive director, the head of development, if they have that staff support, and a board member as a volunteer to go to say to somebody, a funder, hey, this is why I'm involved with the organization. This is how we will be good stewards of your money. This is how we're fixing a problem in the community. And that's necessary for, I think, organizations to understand that you do need volunteers advocating on your behalf. A development person is paid to raise money. I'm happy to go and ask funders for money. But I want the professional with me, because if a funder asks a technical question, I will nicely turn to that person and say, hey, Betty, you can answer that. But it's a team effort.
We were talking earlier about how there's 9,000 plus nonprofits in Kansas City, 11,000 when you include religious institutions. I think that the statistic that David Rentz with the Midwest Center for Nonprofit Leadership shared with us, half of those are budgeted 500,000 or less. And
that's
my
correct.
guess is from that, even a chunk or much less.
Yes.
Given that, they probably don't have a development director.
That's right.
So what do those organizations do? And how can the board be useful and helpful when, you got one or two people doing everything.
Right. Well, I'm working with some startup boards of not-for-profits, and I am having them analyze. These are usually a very charismatic founder who's got a great idea. They usually will start their board with family and friends. Nothing wrong with that. That's the way a lot of for-profit startups get started. But then I will say to them, if they have reached a certain stage and they are still barely making payroll, that they ought to have a sit down and a real conversation, should we keep going or not? Because the board, I think, has an obligation to be the strategic partner with management as to whether or not the organization is going to make it long term. If they have a good roadmap for success, that's fine. But you got to have a strategy of what are we going to look like 3 to 5 years from now, and how are we going to get there financially? I'm also spending quite a bit of time working with a variety of not-for-profits to encourage them to think through strategic alliances. I'm using that term on purpose because that may result in a merger. We are spread out. This community, we've got a huge geographic area for this metropolitan area. And I know that there are organizations that are duplicating effort, that they may not know they're duplicating effort. They would be doing a far better job for our community if they would combine in some way and work together.
Board and mission.
Yeah.
Are there natural tensions there? And if so, from your seat, how do you get everybody back driving down the same road?
Well, I always try to make certain that the board understands what the mission of the organization is. It's as simple as every time you've got an agenda for a board meeting, be sure to have at the top of the agenda, this is the mission of what we're about. Nice. And the agenda should be driven by the mission. And board members need to take time to figure out what the mission of the organization is. Sometimes people get recruited by, well, I want to be on a board with so-and-so. It's ego-driven, maybe social-driven. That's not a good way to build a board. They really have to understand the mission. They have to figure out how they can fit into a particular aspect of that mission. And you're right. Everybody's got to be on the same page and talk about that. And sometimes, missions change. Sometimes, unfortunately, missions change because funders may want to fund something that's their project as opposed to really the organization's project. So organizations sometimes engage in what I call mission creep. Well, we want the money, but it's really outside of what they're trying to do. So you got to hold on to that. You got to hold on to that basic structure of why we are in business.
These are great tips.
Wonderful.
How can people find you to get more or find out about your
Okay, there's several ways. They can go on LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn. They can go to the firm's website, Berkowitz Oliver. I am there. I am now actually working with someone who is creating my own website for my consulting work. But Google my name, you'll find me. Be persistent. I'm doing this on my own. The consulting work I'm doing on my own because I feel Kansas City has a great for-purpose community that makes our for-profit community better, but we got to pay a lot of attention to it and take good care of it.
And you can find it on Casey Cares.
Yes.
All our social media platforms, because we're going to share all of that. David, thank you so much for making the time to join us.
Thank you both.
And we want to thank you for listening to Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit digital resource. We're produced by Charitable Communications, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Casey Cares is generously underwritten by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation.
Casey Cares podcasts are available online at caseycaresonline.org. To be a guest on Casey Cares or for underwriting opportunities, please visit caseycaresonline.org. Spread the love and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and all of the other social medias. Thank you for listening to Casey Cares on ESPN, 1510 AM and 94.5 FM.
ESPN Kansas City is KCTE Independence and K233DM Raytown, 1510 AM, 94.5 FM.